Welcome back to another episode of Warren Cali. In this episode, I will detail the story of how Bay Area rapper E40 almost got Biggie killed. In the 90s, rap beef was a common thing in many regions of rap, and the most focus and attention went to the West Coast and the East Coast division, which was a narrative crafted by the media, newspapers, and articles for several years, pitting artists against each other just off the region they came from. You had many artists going at each other just off being from a different coast, with many artists proclaiming their side was the best. Most of these artists who later began the beef never met each other or never even had contact to have real issues. But the war of words through interviews and magazines held many negative situations and made artists go at each other on records, interviews, and even got to the level of fights in some cases, death. Now E40 is a rapper whose career began in the 80s, hailing from the hillside of Vallejo. His career would take off in the 90s during the height of the war of words between many East Coast and West Coast artists. By 1995, E40 was already a platinum artist and a known star on the West Coast. He had been putting in work and putting quality music out for a while with his multiple solo albums that he dropped. He was also a part of the rap group The Click, which featured his siblings Sugar T and D-Shot, and also his cousin B Legit, who were all respected Bay Area rappers on their own. Now on the other side of things, you had Biggie, also known as several other names like the notorious B.I.G. At this point, he was one of the biggest artists on the East Coast and in rap in general at the time. Biggie had a lot of controversy going on at the time, and he had a little rap beef in New York for the title of King of New York. He also had problems with ex-friend turned rival like Tupac, and his record label Bad Boy Records would begin to have problems with West Coast powerhouse record label Death Row Records. Biggie wasn't known to call rappers out by names in music, but instead, he dissed in subtle ways, mostly what is called now sneak dissing. But Biggie would do an interview, which would later come out, and in an interview, Biggie would ask to rate several rappers from the Bay, including Spice One and E40, which he gave them both low ratings, which both E40 and Spice One took as disrespect. Biggie would allegedly go as far as saying he wasn't a fan of E40 and didn't like his music. He would rate E40 music a 0, and E40 would take this as extreme disrespect. Not to mention, E40 had a close relationship with Tupac, who Biggie would develop a beef with, or several factors with them being once friends turned rivals. The feud between E40 and Biggie would take a major turn. Biggie would go to Sacramento to do a concert. E40 being one of the biggest artists in California, especially Northern California at the time, he was connected all over. He had heavy connections in Sacramento and even associated himself with the Garden Block Crips and Sac. E40 had respect all over, so with his crew having love in Sac, one of E40's associates from Vallejo, Luda Bruce, will also be performing on the same venue as Biggie, and the two would bump into each other, and it wouldn't go good. Luda Bruce and several others he was with would allegedly draw down on Biggie and his entourage, and question him about his comments on E40, and ready to end Biggie's life for the disrespect of E40. E40 was then called and asked what should be done to Biggie. Should he be killed for his comments, or should he be given a pass and let go? E40 received a call and held a convo with Biggie about the situation and the disrespect he had towards E40, which 40 would tell his guys to let Biggie go. A member of Biggie's entourage will over a decade later discuss the situation.
So, Big goes on. He's performing. All of a sudden they start throwing coins at him. We head out, get to the back. The limousine is there, but the driver's gone. All of a sudden you start hearing the trunks of cars opening. You just hear boom, boom, boom. Like, what the hell is that? And you just hear. I turn around, I'm like, oh, it's a gang of dudes with guns. Now, the limo door was open. So I was able to put Big in there. And they just very irate. Your man said in the newspaper, he did the article about my man. We getting ready to get him. I said, you know what? Get that man on the phone. I think that man and Big need to talk. If they wanted to go down after that, then so be it. But I think they need to have a conversation because they haven't had a conversation to this point. They talked for maybe 5 minutes. He answered the phone back out. I was like, yeah, so what is it, man? He was like, you know what, you was right. Get the phone back to the little dude. I get a phone back. He was pissed. Man, but nah, we got him right here. So I guess your boy was just like, listen here, man, let him go. He made sure we got out of there safely.
Luda Bruce, who had Biggie hemmed up, will also later talk about the situation and his side of the story.
He finished his show, and we backstage at this point, and this nigga finna get in the limo. And that's when I approached the scene. I had that 50 on me, that Desert Eagle. You know what I'm saying? This shit about my peoples, niggas ain't for play out here, nigga. We for real out here, nigga. 40 tell me like this, cause 40 tell me like this. He like, Lil Bruce, I be in New York, and I be by myself, basically. So I was like this, all right, cuz I'm gonna give this nigga this pass. And I fell in line with the whole situation. And you know what I'm saying? Biggie Smalls rode away with his life.
E40 and Biggie would later squash their beef and even had plans to work in music together. But Biggie would die in 1997 after he was set up and killed in California. This time, not getting a pass or lucky enough to be let go by his Eventual, California Killers. E40 many years later was asked about the situation with Biggie, and he would tell his side of the story on several platforms.
There, 40.
Now explain what happened with you and Big.
Maybe done got you investigated.
These predicament. Look, check this out, man. Check this out, man. This is how everything went down with that situation. This is real spill. Back in the days, I think it was 94, around 94, 95. Big had did an interview in a Canadian magazine. I don't know how it got. Internet wasn't even booming back then, but I don't know how it got in my hands. You feel me? But it was like he was rating everybody from on the scale to from 1 to 10.
Right.
And
I read that article.
You read that?
It was you and Spice 1. He gave Spice 1 a 2 and gave you a 0.
A 0, bruh.
Yeah.
You feel me? Even if I didn't like him, I wouldn't give him a 0.
Yeah, like a 3 or something.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, 3. Give me something. What happened was my folks, just like his folks, would have been hot about the situation. It just so happened that it was a concert in Sacramento. I'm in my bed. This like 11 or something at night. For some reason, I turned it in a little early. I wasn't in the studio. And I got a call from my folks. Man, I got this nigga, 40. I got this nigga Biggie down here. What you want me to do with this? It's hell up all of my little youngsters, right? I don't know. I'm like, where y'all at? We're in Sac. So they called me and he put me on the phone and say, man, what's happening? What was up with that, situation? Man, they got me real drunk, man, and I just got to saying anything, man, and and what else he said? He said, man, Duke, he said, I with Sprinkle Me, Duke. I rock with Sprinkle Me, Duke. You know what I mean? And I was like, I didn't trip. I was like, man, let him. I told him, I said, put my folks on the phone. Say, let him do his thing, man. Let him go. Get him back to the hotel.
Let him go.
Yeah, just let him go.
So did they have him tied up? They was holding him at gunpoint?
Nah. I mean, yeah, they did. They would. If I would have given them the green light, they would have did something. And I wouldn't want nothing to happen to somebody just for saying somebody, on the scale from 1 to 10, it's a 0. It was an insult, but not to, to die or nothing like that.
E40 continued to have one of the most successful careers in rap history, still being relevant to this day. With his career spanning 20 plus years, he is considered a West Coast legend and one of the greatest rappers ever. This will conclude this episode. If you haven't already, check out my previous episodes. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.